listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian. He's trying to get the comments up. He's going to be reading them. He's going to be texting. He's going to be trying to let y'all know what's going down. And our other host, he's here.
I like cheese.
He's always here for everybody's entertainment.
Cheddar.
Cheddar. It's all about
Keith
that.
Cheatham.
All about that cheddar.
Cheddar is better.
Cheddar is better. It's that money. Gotta have that cheddar. Actually, is a pretty good song. I wanted to use it as our intro music one week, but
I don't even know what you're talking
or our
about.
countdown music, but it's called cheddar or cheddar. But it's about that money.
Don't
Getting
show
all
me.
that
Don't
cheddar.
look at me because my color is off.
Uh-oh. I actually
I
like
just
to
fixed it.
change it on air.
Just fixed it.
Lets people know all of the technical things that go on behind the scenes while we're trying to entertain everybody. We actually got some breaking news. Breaking news for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I don't think y'all have heard about this.
I bet I have.
You don't know.
I bet I do.
You don't know.
I bet I do.
Don't act like you're in the know.
You have a
always
third
know.
testicle.
I have had a third testicle for a while. I now have 4.
Oh,
It mutated.
split?
Yes. And now I have 2 full testicles.
Did you name it Delta?
And 2 half testicles. And it is the Delta variant.
Yeah.
That's what it does.
What it does.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I'm okay with that.
And here's the thing. That's what they don't tell you. The reason they want you to get vaccinated is because if you get the Delta variant when you're vaccinated,
You grow
get
another
a 4th
testicle?
nut.
That's right, and you're
And you
more
can have
reproductive.
More, yes. And therefore, you can populate the earth more.
and they're trying to.
I just thought it's
depopulate.
because it made you
Chinese.
that much
Yeah.
more masculine, and we all know that that's a sin now to be a
those-
white male.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
Those with low T are gonna rule the world someday.
That's true. That is true. But not only that, you could also argue the fact that maybe this would be the case for some of those trans women to get the shot. You know, because then maybe they'll grow 2 nuts. And maybe they'll have the testicles that they need to prove that they are indeed a
this
man.
is
all
not-
very interesting.
Yeah, this is not how I thought we would start the show out this week.
This was not the breaking news at
No.
all.
we have started the show with masturbation.
I mean, we
So
had black
this
dildos.
is-
I would
so,
say
mean,
we've ended the show with black dildos.
Oh
So-
my gosh, I
that
forgot
was
about
before
that
video.
episode.
So
about
I
that
mean,
one.
December 2017.
It's been a while, since
That's where our minds are at right now.
yeah.
You never know what the hell you're gonna get out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like a box of chocolates. You
Well-
never know what you're gonna get.
What
But
is what is the breaking
Our
news?
breaking news is, for the first time in a long time, we have a lot of headlines to get through. So we are actually postponing our Vices segment
Oh.
Yeah.
to next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are not having a unique weekly segment
That's
this
why
week.
we talked about vaginas and dildos, because
That's
we kind of
right.
had our vices segment just now.
Because no.
Those are vices.
Yeah.
Those are
For some
vices,
people.
but those are also that was very important news that needed to get out. And so there was valuable airtime that needed to be spent on those very, very things. So that was not a waste of time. I don't know.
I didn't say it was a waste of time. I said it was our vices.
Yeah.
It's not even a vice.
But
It's
who
a vice.
who decides
Dildos
whether
are a
that's
vice.
valuable airtime or not?
Well, our,
that up to you?
our
Brandon-
viewers
Brandon
and
decides.
ultimately, the dictator over
Yeah.
here. That's
I
mean,
the penis potato.
the penis potato.
The
Yeah.
dictator
Penis
right.
potato.
with 4 balls.
I mean, think about it. It's like at the end of the day, the world's going authoritarian. It's the movement of the age. Let's just keep it going. And Sean's already laughing.
I'll tell y'all after the show. It's an after the show conversation.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's a during the review conversation.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
I guess because we have so many
We
chock,
can't.
like
well,
so many headlines.
We
chock full.
actually we do have a great review. We actually me
Yeah.
and Brandon saw 2 movies this weekend.
What?
Yeah, we went and saw a double feature.
If you
It's
saw
been
on
a
our
while.
Instagram, we asked people to guess which movie was the good movie because we saw The Green Knight, and Jungle Cruise.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to say which one was the good movie. You could just listen to the review first, so that can answer it.
But only one was good.
But we can explain why very briefly. I don't want to get into it, but we can explain why the other one was not good.
And also, I do want to shout out to Sean. Thank you, and we have it officially on air that I owe you some summer shandies because this is a flat beer.
Brandon ruined them.
Yeah, obviously, I knew not to leave them in the freezer.
I didn't think you had them in there that long.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Well,
last week it was just like, hey, put those in there for a few minutes before the show, and then you made coffee.
No. So y'all didn't hear me earlier. I left them in there overnight.
Oh.
So it was the next morning that I woke up.
Yeah,
and
it's too long.
When I put them in the fridge, the caps
exploded.
had already busted.
Yeah.
And,
So they're flat and they're sticky.
and I've got nasty
But we're still drinking them.
beer that I got to clean out of the fridge.
Yeah.
That's worth it. You know, free
It
beer.
kind of tastes like lemon flavored spit water, but you know.
Yeah, I'll enjoy it. I've enjoyed it, but I do owe you.
It's
I
okay.
want it on the record that I owe you some summer shandies.
Just bring
for
them to the
show.
lake.
That's fine.
You know? Well, there you go.
I've got 10 more at home, I think.
Okay.
No, not 10 more.
Well, next time you bring them, I'll put them in the fridge. I won't put them in the fridge.
It now tastes like Bud Light made this beer.
It does
I had to think
indeed,
about it.
yeah.
It's like, actually, it doesn't taste that far off from a Bud Light with lemon in it.
That is actually very, very true. The lightest beer you could have. Anheuser-Busch Summer Shandy.
Now we know what they do. They just put it in the freezer. Like, here's Bud Light.
That's what it is. He's got it.
He can't even make it fizz.
He's trying.
No.
He's trying to get ahead on
I was
it.
trying to see if there's any clumps or anything in there.
I mean, I didn't taint it with anything. I didn't put any of my.
I didn't know if air got
Four
in
nut
there.
Well,
juice.
speaking of taint,
4 nut.
this has nothing
Wouldn't
to
that be a good name of a good beer? 4 Nut.
4 Nut.
Yeah.
You got what is it?
4 Nut and taint.
All right,
It's like,
guys.
I think I'm going to have that fat tire.
And
It's
that
like,
4
no,
nut?
give me that 4 nut and taint. I want to try that.
It aged real
Is
well.
that brewed with an orange peel?
Let's get into our review.
Here is our review of Jungle Cruise.
Disney conquers the box office once again, having turned another one of their attractions from the most magical place on Earth into a paint-by-numbers blockbuster. Because if it worked for Pirates of the Caribbean, it can work for other theme park rides too. I mean, just look at how successful Haunted Mansion, Country Bears, and Tomorrowland all were. That's right, even though Disney has only managed to successfully adapt the Pirates ride into a full-blown franchise, and all other attempts have paled in comparison, they continue the trend with their latest film, Jungle Cruise. And while I still stand by my paint-by-numbers statement, I can actually say this time, Disney didn't completely botch the idea. Yes, Jungle Cruise is raking in the cash, and with star powers such as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Emily Blunt, it's no surprise. What is surprising, based on Disney's previous track record though, is that despite a few flaws, the film honestly is a lot of fun. One expects, of course, anything The Rock is involved in to be highly entertaining. No matter if the film he's in is good or bad, The Rock knows how to work an audience. The man just knows how to entertain. Alongside Emily Blunt, who has long proven herself capable of a wide range of roles, we get two engaging leads that you enjoy watching the whole way through. While Emily Blunt and The Rock's performances are definitely the highlights of the film, and their chemistry on screen and ability to play off one another are the driving force behind the movie, it is still painfully obvious how much Jungle Cruise borrows from other films. Anyone who has seen Pirates of the Caribbean will feel the story and villains are eerily familiar. Jungle Cruise's plot structure greatly resembles Pirates, with themes, set designs, villain designs, and the entire general atmosphere of the film feeling heavily influenced by Pirates blended with a bit of National Treasure, Indiana Jones, and the African Queen. Though the original theme park ride was inspired by the African Queen, so I guess things have just come full circle. While the plot may follow familiar story beats, and much of it is familiar Disney tropes in a new jacket, it is still a very nice new jacket. The film doesn't lack in complete originality. The characters are for the most part, aside from a few woke additions that add nothing to the plot, generally fleshed out and well likable. The humor is very well done, and even backstories and character development keep the movie compelling. Yes, we hit familiar beats, but the characters are so fun and relatable that you want to stick around for their story, even if it feels like the movie takes place a few centuries after Captain Jack sailed the seas. Hey, maybe if Disney plays its cards right, they can create a cinematic theme park universe. At this point, why not? My only other gripe with the film is that it also has less than stellar CGI when compared to past Disney works, such as the Pirates films or even recent Disney live-action remakes, such as Jungle Book and The Lion King. The fact that the same studio that brought to life Davy Jones and live-action versions of Baloo and Simba also created the villains and the Jaguar in this film is mind-boggling. It's not that the CGI is always bad in the movie, but there's no excuse for when it is bad after we've seen Disney do better. The Jungle Cruise, however, is still a fun film for most ages. It may be a bit much for younger audiences, but no more so than Pirates was. There's brilliant innuendo and darker moments for adults, with lighthearted laughs and characters for younger ages. The film has its flaws, but it is still a fun adventure film, which is all it needed to be. I give Jungle Cruise 3 out of 4 stars.
3 out of 4 stars.
Yeah,
Nice.
Jungle Cruise.
Nice.
So I guess now everybody knows what the bad movie was that we watched.
Which is surprising because critics on Rotten Tomatoes have given The Green Knight 93%. But it
What?
also has a 53% from audiences, so go figure,
That's
right?
freaking
Wow.
insane.
It is probably the most pretentious art house movie I've seen in a long time that added I've read the actual
really
poem.
is.
Wow.
It was really stupid. I've read the actual poem, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, which is an Arthurian tale. J.R.R. Tolkien did a translation of it, that's the copy I own, is the translation he did because it was in like Gaelic or Old English, and I mean,
Yeah.
So I read the poem and watched the movie, and I was like, I have no idea what they did here because obviously it's a shorter poem, so they had to embellish a lot to make a movie, which I knew they would, but everything added in there, and it was just, it was dumb. I was like, why?
I'm really surprised because I honestly, when you started off with that, I was like, oh, they're gonna bash Jungle Cruise, and they loved this other movie, and I'm gonna be pissed that I didn't go see it. And now I'm like kind of glad that I didn't.
Don't see it.
It's a waste of
unless
time.
you want to see giant naked women howl at the moon
and not good looking women.
and not good looking
He
with
got
the
his-
fox.
He got his hopes
with the
up.
fox.
red hair.
No, they're bald.
Oh no, I'm
They're
out.
they're all
I'm
they're
out.
giants.
The only other thing you could have said if they were midgets, but you started with giants.
No,
so
they-
they
we're
can't
talking-
be midgets.
They
We're
were
talking-
giants. They were bald. They were naked, and they just stare at this dude. Then this fox starts howling, and they all start howling with the fox. And I was like, I have no idea what's going on because
Oh,
that's
I
not in the
busted
That's
film.
like my
gut.
neighbor. My neighbor howls with the coyotes. So I've heard.
Wait,
Yeah.
the neighbor.
Crazy
well,
neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen
They're
so
not
many.
listening.
I've seen so many reviews.
They don't have the internet.
talk about how artistic and this is the most beautiful movie of the year, and it's so
Really?
brilliant. And I'm like,
Oh, you know it's going to be bad if
Yeah.
you heard that.
yeah, well, that was after I didn't see anything.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
read
Well,
reviews till after I watched.
I would say
the
it's
movie.
always the huge critical and viewer discrepancy, like the difference between them. That
Yeah.
you know when there's that big a
Yeah,
difference.
see,
okay,
I didn't
it's
know
bad.
anything. Like I don't watch or look at the score until after I've seen the
Yep.
movie, just because I want to form my own opinion.
Sure.
But then when I go back and look at the reviews, and I'm like, what the hell were these critics thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, usually when there's
Yeah.
that big a difference, I'm always on the side of the viewer.
They don't even
Wow.
make it clear that he's like.
They literally, the Giants reminded me of Sinead O'Connor. There was like Sinead O'Connor. I'm
Really?
serious. Oh yeah,
It's
and,
bad.
And I honestly would have loved if they just turned to the camera and
They make
started singing Enya.
King Arthur. This
What if
way-
they were
like-
like the lady from Cranberries and they were like,
Yeah.
zombie,
or like
zombie.
That would have been better. That would have been better if they had started instead of howling. If they had started singing "Zombie," I would have been
would've
like,
made it
okay,
better.
this is a good movie.
like a modern twist on a drama.
Yes.
They made King Arthur this wimpy old man. I mean, it was just
Well, and then they add in this weird connection between I seriously, there were 3 huge scenarios in the film that were just completely made up to somehow
To lengthen
lengthen
lengthen his journey
into a full movie.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that really kind of made him a poor excuse for the journey he goes on for one, and the type of knight that he is or becomes. And I was like, no, I don't really feel like he was on this heroic journey. Just this crap
He's
happened
no
that was
Lancelot.
bizarre.
The whole
Yeah.
themes is that like it's supposed to be about like honesty and him becoming like this honorable knight, and it's like that didn't happen in the movie.
And then there's like some weird mysticism that's thrown in there, which
well, no, that
apparently
makes sense.
is it's
Well,
enchanted.
well,
and-
look, okay, Morgan Le Fay, Arthur's sister, who is a witch in the stories, like is you find out at the end of the poem was behind everything, but then they try to blend, like, that's not his mom, but they kind of make it his mom in this movie because Arthur has more than one sister, but I guess they can't do that in the movie. They have to just make it that's his sister, that's his mom. I don't know. It was just really bad the way that rather than explain anything.
It's how I felt when I watched art house movies way back in the beginning of the 2000s. And every once in a while, you'd land a good one where you're like, oh, that was actually pretty insightful and cool. And then you have some weird, obscure ones where you're like, no, don't pass this off. This is not art. This is junk. It's crap. Yeah. And that's what this was. But now people are trying to go back to it and say, man, it's been so long since we've seen something like this is great. It's not. Green Knight, pass it up. Okay. It's worthless. Yep. It's not.
Why don't we get into
about
the good one?
The 3-star movie.
Yeah. What about that Jungle Cruise, Sean? You start out because you thought we were going to trash it.
I really did, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I gave it a lower score, thinking that it was going to be on par with yours. I'm not going to change my score, but I'm a solid 2.5. I can understand why you went 3.
I was on the fence. I almost gave it 2.5.
I think like one of the reasons that I kind of verged towards the center there was just because it was something that I felt like, obviously, with all of the other adventure movies that Disney has pumped out, like Pirates and National Treasure, I felt like it was just a copy of that. But it did have a bit of flair that those movies didn't have. The Rock is still The Rock. He can never play anyone other than The Rock. It's fine.
But that's okay because he's entertaining.
He's entertaining. It works in this film. His freaking dad joke thing was killing me.
Yes.
And there were just so many instances where it was used properly and timely, and they didn't run it into the ground like they do with a lot of other comedic, shticks in films. They always like go way too far with it. It's like, okay, you should have just stopped at the third joke.
They kind of did, but that was the point.
Yes, and then the kid's like, "Can we make him stop?"
Yeah,
like, I mean, I loved it, but even later on in the film,
when they kind of
brought it back,
but it's not constant. It's like
it was very well timed, but I really thought their interactions together, him and
Emily Blunt,
their
chemistry
were great. Yeah, I thought seeing her even do. I know she has a stunt double, but a lot of the scenes you can very easily tell that she's doing some of the running and jumping and things like that, which is. I mean, other than Edge of Tomorrow, there's not really any kind of an action movie that she's been in. And in A Quiet Place, it's mostly...
Yeah, she's not really...
No. Yeah. So, I mean, I really enjoyed seeing her kind of break out and have a little bit of an action film. But, no, I really... when it started off, I thought, I don't kind of know where this is going. But then later on, as the film progresses, and you do find out that he's...
don't want to spoil it.
I don't want to spoil it, but you find out...
It's a little similar to Pirates, but...
stories about the conquistadors and stuff like that. I thought, wow, that's really awesome. But now how are they going to do this? Because obviously they got to fall in love. And it's like, well, how are they going to work that out? And they did it so well.
Yeah, it was seamless.
It wasn't far-fetched. It wasn't... what's it called when they just, like... They throw something in there just to make it work.
Just a MacGuffin.
A Deus Ex Machina?
Yeah. I mean, something along those lines.
Well,
it's
MacGuffin
it didn't feel. The end didn't feel so coincidental. Like it felt natural. It felt like a good story. And I mean, my kid loved it. It didn't have any bad language like a lot of the Disney movies that are coming out right now. So me and Sawyer sat up late and watched it.
I was going to say, it's rated PG-13, but it's a very mild
No, it was very mild. I think they said hell once or twice in the movie, and that was literally it. I thought Paul Giamatti was definitely going to be the character that, said something that I had to explain to my son, and it never happened. I loved it. In fact, it was freaking hilarious. We were sitting there watching this movie, and Paul Giamatti's got that one gold tooth in the front. Well, Sawyer has a crown that's silver, like he had a bad cavity, and it's just like a temporary thing because it's a baby tooth. But he looks at this character and he goes, "Oh my God, Dad, he's got a gold tooth." And I was like, yeah. And he goes, that must have been a really bad cavity. And I said, why? He goes, because my cavity was pretty bad, and they put silver on mine, so gold must have been worse.
I'm telling you,
that was really funny. Had me laughing.
The logic of children
kid logic is great.
But
no, we enjoyed the movie together, and I would watch it over and over again, which I probably will have to. Because Sawyer's all into it now. It was a very good movie.
Definitely watch it again. The Rock had even stated like part of the draw for him doing this movie is he loved pirates and wanted to have his own like adventure franchise with Disney like that.
Yeah.
So he joined this. And yes, I felt a lot of similarities between this and Pirates.
There's Indiana Jones moments in it, too.
That's what I said.
I told Brandon that. I said the Indiana Jones, I got a lot of vibes of. Pirates, National Treasure. Obviously,
the music
Queen of Africa. But
Indiana Jones.
The music, it struck a chord to me. And of course, it's James Newton Howard who did it. But I feel like what they did is they tried to go back. They harkened back to, like, I really do think more of a, Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Well,
or
it was
like
very.
a
lot of people are comparing it to The Mummy.
Yes.
A lot of people are comparing it to that.
It's like The Mummy. Let's just say The African Queen. It has a lot of those vibes with Humphrey Bogart. But then again, the ride originally was based off of The African Queen, so it's kind of fitting. It's like people are like, well, it reminds me of that. It's like, well, I mean, it kind of came full circle. I mean, that's where the ride took inspiration from, and for the movie to have kind of bits of that makes sense to me too.
But I think I was delighted from the outset because I could tell they were kind of going for that vibe of just more lighthearted hijinks, ensue, and all of a sudden, like, they're getting out of these sticky situations one right after the other. And I actually liked that they did. They played into it. They played into the corny jokes of, like, what you would expect a tour guide to say. But like, okay, he owns it. He pays off some people to act for him, and then how that
yes,
exactly.
So
I mean, it was just these little moments.
Take pictures. Take pictures.
And that's like it was those moments that ultimately made me feel like, okay, this is just a fun flick. And for all of its shortfalls, really fell into the category, which is why I gave it 3 out of 4 as well, were just because it was a copycat. It was a cliche. And there wasn't anything wrong with that. It was just the whole entire plot line of the curse being lifted, I'm sitting here thinking, that's straight up Pirates. I mean, and granted, I will say what I liked about the differentiation between Pirates, though, was that this was more on the comedic, lighthearted side. Even though they had the darker moments, it doesn't go as dark as Pirates.
The humor in this movie is what I loved most. I laughed a lot. It was very entertaining. Like you said, it was a lot of the story we'd seen before, but outside of the story, I mean, it was still well done, like Sean said. It never felt like there was any major plot holes or gaps or just things in logic that I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. I told you there was a scene when the one German brings the vial of water, and he's like, this is what you need. And I was like, well, why does that resurrect him? But then later on, it explained it. And I was like, oh, I thought it was just going to be
from the river.
I just thought it was going to be like you said, this Deus Ex Machina thing where it's like, oh, they just threw that in there to move the plot along, but then they actually explained why. And I was like, oh, that was actually thought out.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that.
Yep.
For me, like I said, my only problems mainly was like, the copycat stuff, and some of the CGI could have definitely been better.
Especially the Jaguar. The Jaguar in the bar fight.
When you've seen the Lion King remake or Jungle Book
is I mean,
or even I told you like the Conquistador with the snakes.
I thought the snakes looked terrible.
They were terrible, and I was like,
awful.
You made Davy Jones, and now we have these. It's like Davy Jones looks amazing.
And that was 10 years ago.
Yes.
Well, and actually, to be fair, I don't know if Weta did Davy Jones. I think that was ILM. I think ILM did that.
Are you giving ILM more props than Weta, who made Gollum? Oh, man.
For Pirates, I am.
Yeah.
But I also think it was ILM that did Polar Express, and that was absolutely not Polar Express.
Golden Compass.
Golden Compass.
Oh yeah,
which is god awful.
Yeah.
ILM definitely.
The
has
CGI in the new
CGI.
HBO series, though, based off of those books,
his Dark Materials.
Yeah,
it's
much
very
better.
good.
But CGI was definitely waning in this film. It was not on par with what I would expect out of a high-budget Disney film.
But ultimately, these are more nitpickier things.
Yeah. I mean, the movie has, for 2 hours and 7 minutes, a very good pace. I honestly thought it wrapped up a little too quickly, but it didn't need any more.
Yeah.
I wasn't upset by it. It was one of those moments where I was like, they kind of do set it up for, well, what are they going to get into next?
Yeah.
And so they kind of lead you off to thinking, if it is a financial success, I definitely think there will be a number 2.
They're already talking about number 2.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling there will be.
And as long as you've got Emily Blunt and The Rock who get along,
I think like 93.
The Rock never takes his shirt off in this movie.
No,
that's true.
It's very
but
weird.
I will say, I felt uncomfortable anytime they had chemistry because I just kept thinking of Jim.
John Krasinski.
Yeah.
And Jim from The Office.
That's
John
just because
Krasinski.
you actually know her husband. Other actors have significant
well,
others.
I don't know. I would beg to differ. I think if anybody pays any attention, everybody knows just because they're like one of those Hollywood power couples that are quietly in the shadows. And I would just sit here and I'm thinking, I could just see John thinking like, I'm jacked up like I'm Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
Jacked
he's
up.
got muscles.
He looks good, and then he stands next to The Rock, and he's like, well, hell.
Yeah.
What the hell am I going to compete with this guy?
It's like one of those Office memes of him just sitting there like,
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like the difference between a pebble and a boulder. It's like Kevin Hart standing next to Shaq. Have you seen that photo?
Oh, God. Yes. But I just think it's funny because I'm sitting here and I'm just like, I don't think Jim's going to like this. I don't think he likes this. And so I was like, man, I don't know if I like that they like each other in this movie. Yeah. I was like, that's
you
Jim's
feel bad.
girl.
You feel bad for John Krasinski.
Yeah, I know. And I know that because like
wonder if he took her on a jungle cruise.
Well, she had a little jungle fever, you know.
Oh.
Whoa.
Yikes.
Well, he was a conquistador.
I do have to say, it's like I've never seen a Samoan conquistador, but when they gave him the long hair,
Samoan conquistador.
But when they gave him the long hair and the beard, the bald look didn't look Spanish at all. No. But with the long hair and the beard, it's like I can kind of see he's kind of bigger than I've seen any Spanish person ever be. But
yeah, he ate 3 Spaniards.
Got that for big. Breakfast.
That's man, what he was fed when he was a kid.
I will say, I thought their versions of him being younger were actually decent.
Yeah.
Compared to a recent movie we watched. What was it?
F9.
F9 with young Dom.
Young Dom. It didn't even look like the
young Dom and Cena.
Cena's was okay.
Cena was okay, but the guy that played young Vin Diesel, I was like, nothing. No, it was terrible.
It's like maybe his mannerisms and like his voice, but I was like, he looks nothing like him. I just don't buy it. But no, definitely 3 out of 4 stars. Go see it if you have a chance. There's a few, just forewarning for those family members out there who maybe want to protect their children. There's a few woke moments in the film. And actually, Sean, I thought what you said to Sawyer was pretty good when one of those came up.
Right, yeah. So it's basically like it's an LGBTQ
moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got all of the alphabet in there or not, but
elemental P.
QRX.
It's one of those moments, and it was, and I will say, if you got to have it in there, it was kind of pointless, but they did minimize. I felt like they minimized.
Oh, don't say that because that's wrong.
I know it is.
They shouldn't
it's
minimize.
Wrong for them, but it's right for me.
Well, this is where
they kept it to a minimum.
People on both sides arguing and hitting Disney.
Yeah, it wasn't enough for them, but it was
too much for us.
It was too much for us. It wasn't necessary.
It was definitely
for
playing,
the story.
It was definitely Disney playing the middle ground because both sides have been. I have seen the other side angry that they didn't. That there's like, oh, well, of course they just made it a brief scene and it's not anything bigger. And it's like, well, did it have to be? Did it really affect his character?
The only thing I can think, and I'm spoiling a little bit, but you can tell the moment it shows up. I'm just sitting here thinking the only thing they can happily say is, well, he wasn't prissy. He actually does have strength, and he comes through.
He knocked a few people out.
And I'm just sitting here, like, okay,
he's very prissy through the entire film.
Very
yes,
I'd say high maintenance. He reminded me of Niles from Frasier in a good way because that humor I thought was hilarious. I was like, oh, that's funny. But then, like,
when you threw in his character arc, it was just like, okay, this came out.
But then it became mysterious
because it seems shoehorned.
It came a little bit more stereotypical. It was like, oh, it was funny, but then
now that he had a lot of better reasons for him to never leave his sister's side or never forsake her, because she supported him through this when no one else would or whatever. But I did like The Rock in his reaction to that information when it's given to him because he's just sitting there drinking. He's just kind of like,
okay,
here's to elsewhere.
Yeah,
and I loved that.
And that was
I really
fine.
liked the way he handled it. He didn't go overboard, and he didn't make a big deal out of it. It was just like, well, to each his own.
I actually wish that was the attitude. Everybody, if we would just shut up about everything and just be like, okay, that's your choice.
And I think that's kind of what they're aiming for, though. But the only thing that I have a qualm with, and this is why I say it's a woke moment, is again, these subtleties are shoehorned into a child's film that then you do have to explain to your child when it comes up. PG-13, yes, but still PG-13 for you don't see anything about in relation to this. It's because of violence or small image, scary images or whatnot. It has nothing to do with this. They don't consider these moments to be why it's rated that way. But any parent who truly would even acknowledge or want to refer to a rating of a movie would be wanting to know these things.
Yeah.
But our culture, of course, is trying to change that, drastically and how we, they understand. They manipulate.
Didn't really show any blood in the movie, other than maybe a cut on a forehead. But they have that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, so you're trying to shield my children from gore and blood when people are getting stabbed and cut.
I'm actually not 100% sure why this was PG-13 as opposed to PG.
It didn't have the language. It didn't have the violence.
It didn't really have a lot of violence or gore.
Yeah.
It might be. It might be because enough people were just like, had enough parents who were just like, no, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And I can see Disney is very good about trying to appease both sides. They will push a certain narrative that is popular in the public eye when it suits them in a very small minority that they know is going to pay attention. But when it comes to the overarching image of Disney, they're going to be very strong to maintain a very particular image.
Parents need to rise up. Rise up.
And with saying that, I think we need to move on to our headlines.
Sure.
Because we got a lot to cover. We got so much to cover. So, let's roll that big, beautiful open. Are you ready for the headlines?
It says PG-13 for sequences of adventure violence.
That was it.
Yeah.
Well, of course, they're going to disguise it anyway.
And homosexuality.
All right, here is our headlines. Let's get into it.
She don't like the whispering
the dog
either.
Thinks you're talking to her.
She's probably like,
Are you done?
She's confused now. She had a little bit of trauma.
We didn't yell it this time.
I know. I appreciate it.
We did that for you, Sean.
I prepped.
We did that for
ready.
you. We know you.
We got a lot of headlines.
You hate our scatting.
It's gotten very long.
Well, I'll tell you something. It's not going anywhere.
I figured it's like, once y'all find something that works.
Brandon loves it.
It's become a mainstay. All right, here's our first headline.
Yeah, let's get into
this
those.
evening because we got 5 headlines.
I mean, we're forgoing our unique
Are they in order here?
They are going to go in order.
All right.
Netflix is mandating vaccines. Look,
well, who the hell is it?
Hold on. We got to give a warning for anybody who is scared of politics, who doesn't want to be politicized on an entertainment show. We hate to go here because
we go there every week, Brandon.
But we try to make it entertaining. We try to make it entertaining.
Here's the thing.
But Hollywood's got to keep pissing us off.
It ain't just Hollywood.
I mean, all of society, pretty much now, if you don't have
crazy.
You're not allowed to live anymore unless you have a damn vaccination card. That's just simple. We're going to take people out and shoot them.
Can't have a freaking ID to vote, but you got to be vaccinated. Prove it.
That's right. You can't have you don't need an ID to vote, but you have to have this vaccination card to come eat in our pleasant restaurant.
Wait till you got to have a vaccination card to vote.
Here, I'm panning down.
Oh, that's going to be it right there. I guarantee you.
We're coming out. We're hard hitting right now.
I didn't quite think about it, but you're right. I would not be surprised if they said, we're not letting you in to vote unless you have a vaccination card.
That ain't going to happen. I mean,
I'm
not saying it's going to happen.
That would get rid of a lot of the Republicans.
I wouldn't be surprised if they tried
it. A lot of America.
Yeah,
we're gonna fight. Take it to the streets.
It's only like
Bloodbath
30%. Just 30%.
It's really not.
70% have been vaccinated, haven't they?
60.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
56% is the last number I saw.
Oh, really? I thought it was over 60.
I thought it was too, but then I saw, which I could be.
They're lowering it just to make it worse.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I thought it was over 60, but then a few days ago I read 56%.
It has to be because they hit their goal. No. It was like 60.
Their goal was to be 70 by July.
70% have had the first shot was their goal. They reached it just this past week. On Monday, just yesterday.
But they were supposed to
hit it a month ago.
So in 2 weeks, we'll all be okay.
Yeah. Right.
When everybody gets that second shot.
We already are. Because everything that they want to say are nothing but new cases. They don't even talk about deaths anymore. Nobody mentions the death rate, and this is why...
To tie this back into movies...
You have to be warned that this is what Netflix is doing, along with a lot of Hollywood studios and other private businesses.
Major corporations. Disney's enforcing it. Yeah. Outside of that, I mean, Walmart is... all of New York now, you can't go anywhere unless you have a vaccine card. And I get the idea of...
Vaccine guard?
Guard, yeah. Well, it's because it guards you.
It's like you're selling insurance.
We don't know.
Get the vaccine
it's
guard.
Like one moment you need the vaccine.
DNA.
But I'm just saying, one moment you need the vaccine so you can go out, but the next moment the vaccine doesn't matter because you'll get it anyways. But then they don't know what is it? Is it you need the vaccine or you don't need the vaccine?
Well, that's the thing.
I mean, it really is exhausting.
It is.
It'll just give you a headache thinking about it.
It does. It gives me a headache because then they change how many days. You have to quarantine for this many days. No. It actually should be this many. It's like they don't know. And I wish they would just say, we don't freaking...
Well, it's not even that they don't know. It's can we say dance monkey dance and they do it?
Yeah.
And those who do dance are in the club. Those who don't, you're bad and we need to shut you up.
Mm-hmm.
And Netflix, now granted, their mandate goes to what they call, I think it's called or tier A people, which is considered actors or anybody
classifying
who's
people's worth.
They have it
Zone
in terms
A.
Zone A.
But
They have it to where it's actors and anybody who associates with actors. So basically, any on-set production people have to be vaccinated. And the fact of the matter is look, I know there's a lot of below the line people that work on these huge movies, especially the ones that Netflix produces, that I guarantee you it's going to cost them their livelihood.
Yeah.
Now, what I think is so funny is that the unions
if they would just get
themselves-
vaccinated, that's their decision
right,
to get vaccinated.
Right. Yeah. That's what they want you. That's what they want to tell you. And
like, it doesn't have to cost you your livelihood. You're just making the wrong decision.
But what I think is so interesting is that you have the unions who put this pressure on the studios and said, we're going to leave the ball in your court, and it's up to your producers of whatever production they're producing. And yet, at the end of the day, we all know, I mean, it's like, 95% of Hollywood considers themselves to be left-leaning. We know that.
Is it even that low?
I know. It's like 98.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I'm sitting here thinking they know what they're going to end up pushing. And Netflix has been ahead of this because they're always wanting to be on the front lines in the publicity of say, look at us and look how great and how they want a virtue signal.
Yeah.
That's what they're about. But you're going to have so many people that these unions do not represent because they feel that this authoritarian measure is correct.
Yeah.
It is the right thing to
They feel it's the morally right thing to do, but it's like, at what point do you take people's freedoms away? I mean, I understand the idea of you think you're doing it for the safety of the public, but at what point do you allow that to cross people's constitutional rights for their own good? I mean, I know this is, drastic. I mean, a lot of people think what they're doing is for the greater good, but that doesn't make it so.
Absolutely. 100%.
That's what the Nazis thought too.
Yeah.
Hitler thought he was doing the greater good for Germany.
Well, and again, I know every time somebody brings up a Nazi comparison,
I know.
You immediately get
Disney
like,
fires
oh, great.
History repeating itself.
Every time a Nazi comparison's brought up, Disney fires someone.
Yeah, that's right. That's the truth. But I just find it interesting that Netflix went down this path. No, I don't. I don't find it interesting. This is exactly what I expected.
It's not surprising, yeah.
Hollywood is going to continue to do this, and you have now everybody's wanting to hold up this banner saying, "See, we're doing it. You can do it too." And they have no interest in actually preserving the real hardworking men and women that support the industry, and they don't care about their livelihoods if they actually have the right to say, "No, I choose not to get vaccinated for whatever health reason." And I don't care if I've gotten the vaccine. I've gotten the 2 shots in my arms. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I am pro-liberty, pro-choice. And when it comes to that matter, and yes,
pro-choice,
pro-choice when it comes to making my decisions about my body, my choice. But guess what? Not when it's a human,
that don't
in my
work
body.
with the vaccine.
Yeah, it don't work when you're talking about a vaccine. So it's about time we start using their words against them, wanting to protest this matter. It's like, how come it's not my body, my choice at this point? Oh, because I may affect somebody else? Well, I guess you don't give a crap about that when they're in the womb.
Yep.
You don't care about that
those
person that
people.
it's affecting. Let's get into the semantic game. Let's do it. Because that's really that's all it is. It is a form of control. That is what they want. They want to say, look, we're on the right side of history, and we're going to mandate that you do this because we we know better than you.
Are they on the right
Screw
side
you,
of history?
Netflix.
Or
I'm
are they
canceling
on the
my subscription.
left side?
I'm done. I'm done
Speaking of,
with Netflix.
right and wrong.
I am going to force my parents to cancel. I'm going to mandate they cancel Netflix.
It's like, you can't even say you're going to quit Netflix because you're not paying for it.
And that's one of the liberties I have.
Yeah.
Well, screw you, Netflix. You don't get my money.
Speaking about things not being paid. Second headline.
Oh,
One of the, I think,
segue.
Bigger ones, I think, for most casual viewers, obviously, is that I think everybody now knows Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney because of a breaching contract, or what her and her lawyer claim is a breaching contract. Disney's never refuted it, but they've talked around it, which is what I think is funny. Basically, Scarlett Johansson is saying that per her contract, prior to Black Widow's release, it stated that it would be a theatrical release only, and of course her pay is based on a percentage of that gross. Because Disney released it in theaters and Disney it's possible that the being on streaming reduced the theatrical cut, which reduced her pay. So she's taking them to court. Disney's saying they never said that they didn't put that in the contract. All they've said is, well, she's being greedy because one, she was paid $20 million, which is kind of shady to out how much someone's paid anyways, in my opinion.
Yeah. When does that happen in Hollywood?
Yeah.
Like you don't really know anything. Like we've done Tinseltown trivia for the longest time, and trying to find how much money somebody made on something is near impossible.
It's only ever leaked, or it comes out years after the movie was ever
or
announced.
they'll talk about what percentage of actors being paid, but they don't say how much that equates to. But they're like,
and we know it's millions.
She's like, she's paid $20 million, and she's being insensitive because this was done because of COVID. It's like, well, it doesn't matter why you released it to Disney Plus. What matters is her contract stipulated one thing, and you went against that.
And you didn't change it. You know, you had time to say, look, we need to renegotiate our contract because of this pandemic.
Yeah, apparently her agent, thank you. I couldn't think of the word. Tried to renegotiate the contract. They actually, when they found out it was going to be released to streaming, which tells me apparently she understood why it was being released to streaming because of COVID. So they tried to renegotiate, and Disney was just like, nah, we ain't doing that.
Nope.
Apparently, when you're Disney, contracts don't matter.
Well, and they don't care because they can fight it. I mean, they simply
they'll settle. They'll settle, and it'll just be a drop in the bucket to them.
Well, and to them, they have the feeling that they know if they can either paint them in a bad light, or that they can somehow, change the scope of the story and the perspective, that they're going to get people on their side and fighting for them, or that it'll change the public narrative to where it won't be so bad on them, and they do have to go behind closed doors
they've already
tried
by saying, well, she made $20 million, and it tries to make her seem insensitive and greedy.
Yep.
And it has worked. I've seen people online be like, well, why does she need more than $20 million? It's like, well, if you go to an employer and they say, we're going to pay you $20 an hour, and they only pay you $10 an hour, are you just going to be like, well, that's okay?
Why does LeBron make twice that playing basketball?
Yeah. It doesn't matter how much you make. That's what she's promised to get. And if you make a contract saying you're getting X amount of money and you don't deliver,
well, I think
you should be held accountable.
Also, it's that hubris of, because they are the big corporations and they do have all the means that they...
Well, how much money did Disney make off of her? Who's being more greedy, her or Disney?
Well, they came out the very freaking week after the opening weekend and exclaimed how amazing their performance was in the box office and on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So you actually have proof of Disney talking about how great they did on Disney Plus and how pleased they were. And I'm like, that straight up is evidence right there of just how well you did. And I'm sure that boasting is what probably brought the little attention to Scarlett Johansson saying, I'm not going to let you get away with this. And I think also this has to do with the fact that this was a problem that was brought to many of the big heads of all the studios back in December when Warner Brothers announced they were going to release their entire 2021 theatrical releases on HBO Max. And so the problem with it is that from the very get-go at the start of this year, you knew some of these streaming deals were going to happen because they were like she's even saying that COVID somehow was the excuse when it wasn't. We had theater traffic. F9 actually made, it says in the very same article, it is the only one that has remained a theatrical release, and it has made twice as much as Black Widow, and they're estimating that Black Widow at the end of its entire run will have made about $300 million. And it's a Marvel film.
Yeah.
Each Marvel film up to this point has at least cleared $1 billion.
Yeah.
So $300 million versus $1 billion, and F9 say theatrical, and it's made twice as much. It's close to $500 or $600 million.
I feel if Black Widow was only theatrical, it would have made more than.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt. And it would have forced people to go back to the theater. But Disney's doing the same thing that they're arguing that Scarlett Johansson is. They're saying, oh, she's using the pandemic as this excuse as to why she deserves more money.
Disney said
from and it's like you all are doing the exact same thing, but as to why it's on Disney Plus.
Well, think about it. They said from the get-go that their goal was always to start releasing things in theaters and Disney Plus. It's just COVID expedited the process.
Yeah.
So they already admitted long before this that's been a goal of theirs for a while. So it's like that tells me maybe that's why that was even in her contract. Maybe she knew, well, they're doing Disney Plus stuff. I don't want to be in a movie that's for Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we Disney is being disingenuous in the sense that, which surprise, surprise, because they're the corporation. They're being disingenuous in that they obviously we're going to come up against the fact that they could have renegotiated, or they will continue to negotiate differences in contracts with regards to movies that do release on streaming. The problem is that this was in that kind of interim period of the crossover or for a movie that was never intended to be on streaming, and now all of a sudden it was. And I'm like, okay, Disney, you're the one with the big pocketbook, and you're the one that can afford this. Freaking pay your actors and do your people right so that they do come back and they continue to make you more money. But of course, no, they're going to maximize profits for themselves, and they're going to showcase in their own right, not just to run a business, but how can we profit off this more?
Yeah.
And ultimately, to those who really where the money goes to, which it also mentions in the article, the two main executives, which Bob Iger is one of them, and the new Chapek,
Bob Chapek,
who
the Bobs.
The Bobs, man, they're on it. But you're talking about the chairman and the CEO getting a majority of this cash because their vested interest was in the percentages of how well Disney Plus did. And so you can't sit here and tell me that these two people who are going to profit the most off of it didn't have a little negotiation of no. She's fine with $20 million.
Yep.
This will probably be her last Marvel flick. We'll go ahead and get that and shoo her out the door. And on the back of this, you now have Emma Stone.
Yeah, who hasn't decided, but she is considering
for Cruella.
Yeah.
And then they were trying, I think, to start up something with Emily Blunt.
There's been a few people saying, "Oh, we think Emily Blunt's good," but there's been no actual.
It's all women underpaid.
Well, they asked.
That's the reason why they're playing up the
Gerard
angle,
Butler is actually suing some company for his recent film too, so it's not all women.
Who is
Gerard Butler for whatever movie he just came out
Greenland too. Greenland too.
It's not even in production.
Maybe it is Greenland, the original.
But
apparently, Gerard Butler.
This is Greenland.
It wouldn't surprise me if he got off the plane and said that. Wouldn't surprise me.
And he was just like got back
Still
on and was
movie.
like, I just made $100
Oh, no.
mil.
It's for Olympus Has Fallen.
Has fallen?
Has fallen.
Oh, I thought you said falling.
Wait, how old is that movie? That's
Olympus
old.
Has Fallen is old. That was the first one.
Yeah. Is he trying to go back and get some back
I think
pay?
it's Olympus Has Fallen again. That's the
It says they understated their own receipts and profits by over $11 million. So apparently they cheated him out of some type of money. It may not be with the streaming,
that was
but
long. That was a while ago.
Yeah. Well, he's suing them still because apparently
there's been London Has Fallen.
2013. Yeah, he's suing them for the movie that came out in 2013. I guess it just took him this long to realize he got cheated.
No. Actually, there's I forget the. Dang, I need to remember.
He's in so many movies that it was like
he probably didn't realize it. He was like doing his stuff. It's like, wait a minute.
This is a
doing his
common
checkbook
this is
and
a
like
common practice. And I actually it's a great YouTube channel that is like all things film industry. I need to find it. I want to rep them because I recently subscribed.
They failed to report approximately $8 million in payments to producers because he's a producer too. So yeah, they tried to
wow.
Film Courage.
They understated how much they made to try to pocket
Film Courage.
Yeah.
The YouTube channel is Film Courage, and they actually just have all these people who are part of the industry from higher ups to indie stars. And there was an accountant on there who actually deals in distribution and delivery as far as like, and he said he's like, people think delivery process is simple. He's like, no, you have to get with the distributor and you have to get all their specs, but you also like some of these people like Netflix, in order to be on there, you have to have it like translated into like 26 languages, and like it's like a big ordeal.
Yeah.
And he said that alone can eat up a huge cost of what you have budgeted for a film just to
and
get
they
it for ready for
the
release.
numbers on purpose to pocket more money.
Well,
themselves.
no.
That's what they're claiming these people did.
Right, but part of the fudging of the numbers comes from after it's released, they only report in certain territories, and then they try to basically say, well, you have to trust us on how these other territories will be released, and we'll give you what we monitor in those territories. And this guy was like, it's a common practice for them to just be like, yeah, it released in that territory, but it just didn't do real well. And he was like, I know for a fact, based on other films that I have released on this same caliber in those territories, and not only that, I have people there that tell me that it aired at this time and this many people were watching. I actually have that evidence that there should be way more than this as far as my revenue. And they go back, and he says it's this huge back and forth process. They try to give you the runaround, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, sorry, that was an error on our part, and it was an accounting error. So we'll go ahead and we'll fund you that. And then he says you'd be surprised how many of these instances are through huge distributors, like your Warner Brothers, Universal, and so basically, if you're not a huge blockbuster release where you're going to make buku bucks anyway, and you probably don't care about the little money markets here and there that don't really do well. When you're a freaking indie film and you're looking at
you don't realize how much you're probably being
absolutely
cheated. Yeah. And these are the people we have made our moral arbiters on whether we should be vaccinated or not. So
that's right.
The people that
even keep the
people that
openly the checkbook.
Yeah, the people that openly cheat other people out of money because they know well nobody's ever going to know how much money we made in this market
that's
anyway.
Exactly
it's like show me the proof of in the numbers of how many people have died.
What are you talking about? What
like, no, that guy was shot in the head. He didn't die of COVID.
It was in his bloodstream.
That's true.
And
the bullet had COVID.
Yep, that's it. But no, it's interesting with this whole. I'm actually on. And it's funny because even ScarJo, I don't align. A lot with her views on certain things.
I don't agree
but
with
as far as this matter on a case-by-case issue, I think she's in the right.
Yeah.
I think, more power to her for coming and claiming what she's rightfully earned, which is exactly what her contract stipulated. And Disney, you have the money, pay your stars, pay your people right.
You're talking about these companies holding on to more of their money.
Here we
go.
When you love it. Yeah. He's killing it tonight.
I knew it.
He's keeping that train rolling.
I saw him scroll up on the iPad. I was like, he's getting ready to do another
thing. There
we go.
He's going to drop it.
You know how you hold on to some more of your money is when you get tax credits, right?
What?
Well, how do you get tax credits in Hollywood? You hire more diverse people.
Or no. Really, what you just do is get your governor, who's about to be on his way out, to just give you a bunch of money.
Recall.
And he just says, "Hey, film industry, vote for me."
If you're going out, you're going to go out swinging, right?
And this is the way he swings, by giving his rich buddies a lot of money.
I will give all of the rich people in Hollywood tax credits as long as they do what I want them to do.
So the funny thing about this is it is tied to, again, this is how the authoritarian rule begins. It's not only just tax credits to a specific industry, which honestly I'm like, well, for one, again, you get what you vote for. And California is absolutely, they're getting what they voted for.
Yeah, they don't have bacon now because they voted for that.
Keith, you were actually telling me that story yesterday.
This is insane.
It's
so asinine. They voted for a bill that was marketed as like some like animal like rights type bill. Like don't you want animals to have
2 years
better,
ago, right?
It's like 2018 is when it was voted on for animals to have welfare. It was an Animal Welfare Act. Okay. That's how it was marketed, which sounds nice.
Even the animals are on welfare now?
Yes.
You need you want the animals to have it stipulates that these animals have to have a certain amount of room like to move around. Like they can't just be pinned up and can't move and can't because that's cruel.
Sure.
So all the pigs that are going to be slaughtered for bacon, we got to make sure they can move around before they die. So only 4% of farms are compliant with this.
Yep.
So if you're not compliant, you can't sell your bacon in California. So they said there's going to be a bacon short, like pork costs in California. They said we're going to rise 60%.
You already can't drink or water your plants in California.
It's going to go up.
You can't fry your bacon.
They said pork products will go up 60% cost in California because there's only going to be 4% of farms that can actually sell their pork in California.
God.
It's like, why do you no wonder people are leaving California in droves. You can't have bacon.
Dell has a gaming PC that's upsetting gamers that they can't buy in California because it doesn't meet a certain strict climate change consumer rating standard for electricity use. Like they are
like
now,
Alien Gear.
It is an Alienware computer.
So rather
than
rather than comply, Dell's just like, fine, we're not going to sell that in California.
And granted,
which good on them.
It's only but it's only one unit that they're not shipping just because it doesn't meet these standards that have to go into place in like December of this year.
Yeah.
And granted, they're all saying, well, they've had 4 years. We gave them these stipulations. But
the farms had 4 years to comply. Why don't more for them? Because
again, it all goes back to they don't know what they're voting for.
Yeah,
they vote for this crap thinking in good conscience.
I won't vote for animal welfare.
Yeah,
4 years later, oh shit, I can't have bacon now.
Don't be cruel. Yeah, and that's what I think. It's like, well, I guess I'll be vegan.
Yeah, right.
It's like, okay, so be it. I mean, you're doing this yourself.
Yeah.
The only problem I have is
this has nothing to do with tax credits for diverse casting.
It is a good story though. I like it.
It's pretty good because it's like, I mean,
it just shows how asinine all of these stipulations are. You basically are forcing people to not be able to live. You can't live unless you follow every dumbass rule that the government.
It's a shame homeless people don't eat bacon because then we could just get rid of all the homeless people.
True.
They just all starve to death.
I do love how for 4 years we were literally on this rant about how much of a tyrant Trump was, and I'm like, no.
He was the only thing holding this freaking country together.
He was the only person who actually, he had some mean tweets and he made your feelings hurt. But ultimately, at the end of the day,
grabbed the vagina every now and then. It's like
I can still eat bacon.
That's
damn
right.
it.
Well,
like, what's more important, bacon or your vagina?
We'll see what happens because, well,
I know I'm going with pork. That's right. Oh.
I just want a T-shirt now.
I know.
I just want a T-shirt.
Pork or vagina?
No, it just says
I'm going with pork.
It says I'm going with pork, and then it just shows a woman with her legs open.
I don't know. That kind of sounds like
bad.
a pro. Like,
that's
like
bad.
I don't want taco. I want sausage. This is the only time I'll ever say it.
I was gonna say no. That'd be like a pro LGBT.
Yeah,
shirt.
so
They
bad.
would love that. This is what you get. See, we can make the headlines fun and entertaining. Yeah. I'm done talking about this headline. It's stupid. Go read it.
It's
Now,
ridiculous.
what's next?
Oh, the argument between Ben Stiller and I don't even know what's the other guy's name.
Lord, I don't know.
Franklin
Leonard.
Blacklist founder Franklin Leonard. Yes, I knew it was Franklin. I just didn't know the last name. Yeah, apparently.
I thought that was Lenny Kravitz. I didn't know who that was.
Have you read up on it, Keith?
Yeah, I read. So nepotism. Like I was trying to think of the word. So yeah, he's Hollywood. He was arguing that unless like you're the child of someone in Hollywood or know someone in Hollywood, like you can't make it in Hollywood.
Well, it all started with a tweet that he made about he made a snide little comment because a new movie, it's a short film that's coming out it's directed by Steven Spielberg's daughter and is written by Owen King and
Stephen King's son.
Stephen King's son. I forget the other person who's writing it.
It's Destry Spielberg, which is Steven Spielberg's daughter.
Yeah. Sean Penn's son.
Sean Penn's
Hooper's son, or Hooper's Penn.
Yeah. And then basically he was saying, he posted a tweet saying Hollywood's a meritocracy, right? And then he has all of these children of famous people who are working on this project,
mocking the fact that it doesn't take talent; it just takes.
You have to know somebody
or being the child of a famous person.
Which there's a little bit of truth in as far as getting a break. But then Ben Stiller came back. It's like, yes, it might be easier for you to catch a break if your parent is in Hollywood, but if you have no talent, you're not going to stick around.
That's right.
And I agree with that. And they fought back and forth because the guy was basically saying, well, then how come we don't have this? Or how come he's like, it's all about who you know. You only got a break because your father's Jerry Stiller.
Right.
And Ben Stiller's like, that's right. I because my dad was Jerry Stiller, I got a shot.
Well, he didn't necessarily. I don't want to put words in the guy's mouth.
Yeah.
He made an overarching and again, Ben Stiller called him out on generalizing, but he said no. Basically, what you have is a bunch of people who don't accept what privilege they've been given by having other people in the business. And Ben Stiller fought back and said, no, absolutely. Yeah. I lay claim to the fact that I'm a product of my parents who helped me get through. But again, he said, when it comes down to it, he said, that may be the thing that gives you your break. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the talent to back it up, and he even said, everybody has their own struggle. Everybody has their own. And then, of course, this is what I love. And I don't want to get into this narrative because it pisses me off. But then, is it Franklin is correct? That's the guy.
Franklin Leonard.
Franklin Leonard then throws out this whole racism card. He says, well, then explain to me the lack of diversity. Is that just because they didn't have talent? And it's like, whoa.
Now you're
shots fired. Yeah. Now all of a sudden you're going to exclaim that the reason why the Hollywood industry is whitewashed or Oscars so white or because we don't have many diverse roles is because, they just don't have talent. That's not what he's saying.
No.
Last time I checked, there are many people and he even says this. Franklin does succeed this point. He says, we've done a good job of getting diversity changed in front of the camera, but if you still look at all the boardrooms, you have all those people at the top that are it's still, one color. There's not much diversity there. And Ben Stiller kind of concedes and it's like, yeah, I agree. That's the argument that I want to stick with. I'm with you on that one. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Because at the end of the day, you're basically making the point that we now need to have bias in a different direction. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, I think the point that Ben Stiller's making, that he conceded, idiotically to, was that, no, bias of any kind is wrong.
Is wrong, yes.
At the end of the day, regardless of what opportunity you are given by whatever privilege you have, because you can't sit here. I'll tell you, every single freaking person in this country has privilege. The privilege is you grew up in the United States of America.
That's right.
And anybody who wants to lay claim,
migrate here legally.
Yes. And so if you want to lay claim to this idea that you don't have any kind of privilege because you somehow had to have learned about your ancestors' past and that you don't have it near as bad as they did or have overcome even the same atrocities that they did, don't sit here and give me that line of BS. Because you cannot, at the end of the day, sit here and tell me you deserve a certain position because of the color of your skin or some other diverse statistic. And now all of a sudden, somehow the movies that are going to be populated are going to be the ones that we should all really be seeing because it that has that perspective. No, if somebody wants to watch your film, if somebody thinks you have a good idea, then guess what? You have plenty of independent avenues. You have plenty of ways to make your claim in this country.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be through Hollywood. You are sticking with this very minute focus on one industry that you are somehow obsessed with being a part of and being accepted in. Why not? And this is going to go into our last
I was going to
topic.
say, there's one thing I agree with you on, and that you're absolutely right. It doesn't have to be in Hollywood.
It doesn't.
Why do we need Hollywood?
Why do we need Hollywood?
Let's ask the creator of The Chosen.
What else would we talk about? If there was no Hollywood, we wouldn't have a podcast.
We would talk about the other companies just as the creator of The Chosen is talking about.
That's exactly
let's
right.
Okay,
let's-
segue.
Let's make movies without Hollywood.
Do we need their approval? And I think we just explained that we don't.
Wow, that guy's got hairy legs.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, does it show a
Jeez.
picture?
Yeah.
Is it Jesus?
Well, it's.
I don't think
I
that's
mean,
Jesus.
Show it up.
Yeah,
show it
it's
up.
supposed
it's
to
him
be-
in the picture.
Jesus doesn't have short hair.
Can we show him
any
hold it up?
depiction.
Well, it's.
You want me to show?
Yeah, these are longer hair. It's supposed to be.
No.
Nobody.
I'm thinking the guy in the purple is Jesus.
Yeah, the guy in the purple's Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you all show the
I'm
picture
talking
up
about
to
the
the
guy in
camera?
the brown. He's got the hairy legs.
It's biblical times. They didn't shave their legs back then.
No,
Well,
they
I
didn't
don't
have
sh-
razors.
I don't shave mine now, but they're not that hairy.
They didn't
That's
have Venus.
manly.
Well,
okay?
it kind of looks like he has a lot of mud caked in there too. So and there's something going on with his knees. His knee looks really.
That's
yeah.
a muscle.
You know what's sad?
That's not a
walking
muscle.
sandals
We get
everywhere.
the chance to rep
That's
the
not a
Christian
muscle.
series,
It looks
Yeah.
like his knee's been busted with a baseball bat.
and we totally,
They probably were
totally
when he was
Oh,
crucified.
The equivalent. The equivalent.
we totally overlooked the fact that it's like we have the chance.
I can't even read this article
To
because I
rep.
don't subscribe to Daily Wire.
Well, you should, and there's a reason why because of this.
They have a free subscription to read their articles.
I hit continue reading and it's making me
Well,
subscribe.
you do have to subscribe, but they do have a free tier.
Okay, well.
All
Or I
I'm
think it's actually
saying,
$1 or $2.
This is a
It may
great
not be
article
free.
if you have a free subscription or a subscription, or hell, you can find the article
I know,
anywhere
I
that
know.
talks about the
Well, I mean,
Chosen.
The Chosen is
Daily-
a very highly rated show.
It is.
It is.
And I haven't
Amongst
seen any
amongst
of it yet. But
certain, I mean, there's going to be other outlets that will tell you otherwise because
No, actually, he references in the article that even the
It's a
Atlantic,
very- yeah,
which
it's
is a very
secular-
left leaning,
yeah, that's true.
leaning magazine or newspaper. Talked about how they said it's as on par with any other highly produced show, and the great thing about this is not only a once in a I think this shows.
Well, it's also the largest crowdfunded.
That's what I was going to say. This shows the bifurcation of how we have split in America between those that you have these Hollywood elites, and I think it's funny that Franklin, he's got his own point of view in what he considers to be diverse, and I'm like, well, you want to talk about lack of diversity? It's like this kind of content is successful in its own right and is completely crowdfunded and a huge success. And they've already completely funded 2 seasons of this show.
Yeah.
It has gotten favorable. The premiere they even talk about of the second season that premiered on Easter Sunday received like over 700,000 viewers for the premiere, and that matches. There was a show they brought up on HBO Max when it premiered.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking, I mean, that in and of itself is not only a huge success, this proves that this is profitable, that this is something that I think studios should be paying more attention to. And the only reason they're not is because, again, it doesn't fit the culture they want to push. Well, and so just to go back to Franklin's point, who brought up that it's not a meritocracy, this proves it. You have the technology at your fingertips. You have the motivation to get out there and profess what it is that you're trying to fight against, this so-called diversity trap in Hollywood. Then don't go to Hollywood. Create a new Hollywood. And you want to talk about how hard it is to go up against the machine. I'm sure anybody you talked to in the 90s laughed at Jeff Bezos because they didn't think Amazon was going to become bigger than Walmart.
And now the guy's in space.
And in a big penis ship.
I was gonna say, we mentioned the fact
Penises,
that this
vaginas, we're talking about all of it.
Dr. Evil.
He's in a big boy somewhere.
We mentioned the fact that even this article about The Chosen is an article from Daily Wire, but even they have begun to start producing things outside of Hollywood.
Yeah,
I mean, we
distribute things mostly,
but
eventually
they've
that's the
distributed.
plan.
Well, Gina Carano, the
that's
new
gonna be
deal that
completely
they made
produced
produced
by
by
them.
them.
Yeah.
And I think that's their whole point. Again, they bring it up on their show all the time about how they are alternative media, and we always want to raise our fist at the media, and that's exactly what we do here every week. We manage maybe 4 to 5 members. And yeah, we get our downloads on our podcast.
Dang you, media.
But at the end of the day, we're continuing to chip away. We're continuing to try to fight for what we want people to hopefully respond to us and react to us. The fact is the avenues are there. And yes, you do have big tech and you have other things that are trying to censor or stamp out these voices. And all it takes is, again, the crowd moving in that direction of saying, we're not going to let you silence us. And I think that The Chosen is exactly one of those
we will be heard.
Ventures. We will be heard. And in fact, I'm going to throw out a little challenge to you
Hell no,
all.
we won't go.
I love how we literally could bring up the one Christian show that is modern, and we're trying to rep it, and we've brought up penises.
Yeah.
And hell no, we won't go.
We won't go. I don't know.
Ain't nothing wrong with saying hell no,
true.
we won't go. I'm not going. I'm going to make my voice heard.
Not going to hell.
I'm not going to hell.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah. That's exactly where we're going right now.
Vaccines.
Not us.
Alrighty, guys. I think that's gonna do it. We've ran through our.
I thought there was a point you were about to bring up, and I think
no,
you forgot.
no. I was gonna bring up a challenge for us on the show, and I was gonna see if you all would agree with me. But so I was gonna ask, would you all? We've done this with our multimedia segment already about reviewing certain shows. Should we review The Chosen?
Oh, I'd watch it.
Yeah.
Why don't we do
I've been
it?
wanting to watch it. Yeah.
We can go ahead.
So next week is Vices, because Vices we've put off for this week, but next week we're gonna do our Vices segment, and then the week after we'll start reviewing The Chosen, starting with episode 1.
Okay.
And we will let you know from Christians, from people who
Are we
have a
gonna
critical
just
eye
review
of
one
the
episode
media.
every 4 weeks, or are we going to do a bunch at once like we normally do?
We're gonna leave those
The
particulars.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I think
after the
the whole
podcast.
first
Yeah, we
season
can
is.
talk about that.
I don't know if they drop a whole season at once, but I do know the whole first season is at least out. And
Yeah.
Two is.
I don't know if
they
the
stagger
entirety.
it.
Okay.
They stagger it. They don't drop it all at once. They trickle out a few at a time, and then they do like a weekly release, I believe. But I know they're in the middle of crowdfunding season 3. It's probably already successfully
I think it
funded.
took them a couple of years just to get, because I think season 1 came out a few years before season 2. So
No,
it's
it
not like an
did.
every
But
year
after
thing.
the success of season 1 and it got word about, because they were offering it to a bunch of distributors who didn't want to distribute it. They actually came.
What's PureFlix? I'm pretty sure you can watch it on PureFlix.
Don't get PureFlix.
I don't want to get it.
It's
but
god awful.
It's got God's Not Dead
You can watch
on
it on
there.
NBC
Free?
Peacock. You can watch it on Peacock.
Is it on
Is it
Peacock?
free?
It's on
Okay.
Peacock.
Is it free on Peacock?
I don't know about that.
I just
I'm
have-
sure
I don't-
you
I
can
just have the free
download. You
Peacock.
can
I don't have
download the
Peacock.
app. There is a Chosen app you can download, and it's just all the episodes are on there.
Okay,
Yeah,
as long
yeah.
as it's
Because
free.
when they
Okay.
brought up the crowdsourcing, they knew that nobody had offered them to distribute it, so they literally just part of
Created
the
their own app,
crowdsourcing was
yeah.
creating the app.
that's fine. I just didn't know if you could view it for free because I can't afford to pay for it.
No,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah, it's
but I mean, I
completely
can get it.
free.
Consider it your
I can get it
tithe.
for free either way.
This is
It
Jesus.
could be part
we're
of your
talking about.
tithe, man.
I don't have. I'm tapped out. I don't have the money to
Wow.
to pay for just one show.
Joel Osteen
Well,
says if you give more, you'll get more.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But I'm not.
Think about that in terms
I would
of the vaccine.
I would actually like to give my money as an actual tithe. I'd like to give my actual money as an actual tithe to the church.
yeah,
Not you know.
so you can see it actually.
It is
further the
completely
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like
Not just
almost
further someone's
any kind of Christian. I
Bentley.
mean, that's the other thing that I find so interesting about this is it is successful because again they made it on the back
people
of
are
people
donating
wanting
money,
to
yeah.
donate it. But
I wanna
again,
see
they're
it
not
succeed.
other than getting the actual viewing of it in return, which yes, that is, that's part of the investment, but at the same time it's like all these other, huge studios are all about, we're going to make these type of films, but then you got to pay to go see them, and they're looking to make a profit off of it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There is no free tier to the Daily Wire.
No, I looked. It's $4 a month.
99 cents is the cheapest.
That's
tier
the
you can
reader
get. That's
pass.
the reader pass.
Yeah.
That
I
was
said
Keith.
I
Keith
said it
lied
it
about
was
that.
either free or $1 or $2. I didn't remember.
The reader pass is 99
I did
cents.
say it was $1 or $2, maybe.
The other thing I like about The Chosen is that he does bring up in the article because they did an interview with him. He talks about how the process of this was kind of diving into it's very much based on the biblical scriptures and the passages. He said, but there's a lot of nuances that are not just verse by verse. When you go verse by verse,
there's like, it just says, and they danced at the wedding.
Right.
And he talks about specifically, he's like, but nobody ever sees that. You don't see an actual visual
He tried to make it like, okay, if like this is actually how it would have been back then. If they were dancing or if they were doing this
or
is,
even amongst themselves. And I loved this when I first saw The Passion, when you see the scene between Jesus and Mary, and they're sitting at the kitchen table, and he's laughing, and he splashes the water in her face, and it's like you get the humanity of what, and that's what he said was the part of the show. He said so many people, approach any biblical story and they're scared because they think if
they're scared to fill in the blanks,
right? And they think that they're going to be, and he said specifically,
we don't want to come off
I don't
want
to be
sacrilegious
or sacrilegious.
Yeah.
But he said, but I want he said, I love the Bible, and I want to make sure it's personalized in such a way that we do it justice so that other people can connect and say, that's what I read when I read the scriptures. And I thought it was a very...
You don't want to be accused of making woke Jesus.
No. And that's true. And I have a feeling that if we didn't have something like this, that's eventually what we would get. That's what some churches are turning into.
He would have like a rainbow shawl.
Oh, they already do.
What? You have a problem with churches that are the like rainbow color with the coat of many colors?
No.
Or the rainbow
or God's covenant.
Promising.
That wasn't necessarily a rainbow coat though. Just because it had many colors doesn't mean
But what's wrong with rainbows? Are you saying God's promise
I'm saying I would like to
evil?
take back the rainbow. But I'm just saying Jesus didn't wear rainbow.
How do you know?
Because I was there.
It would have been very expensive.
It would have been very, very expensive. Yes.
But no, I
just probably didn't have purple.
Even having purple on would have been expensive.
That was the
during the
royalty,
crucifixion.
Yeah. Yep. Alrighty, guys. I think that's going to do it for this episode.
I think we did what we came here to do,
and we actually
are like 30 minutes short.
I drank my whole.
Did you?
Bud Light.
It wasn't too bad when I got to the bottom.
I'm getting down to the foam.
I got down to the bottom and I thought it tasted better. Yeah.
What little bit is left of the?
I'm not going to drink.
I wish I had another one,
it's
but
now.
Only not flat.
My bad. I owe y'all some summer shandies.
That was a flat tire instead of a fat tire.
Well, don't worry, because next time I'm going to get you 4 nut in a tank.
I like that.
We can't close the show out on something as wholesome as Jesus.
We always got to screw it up. That's what we humans do best. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Again, I want to thank everybody out there for listening and watching our show and tuning in every single week. Again, always like, share, subscribe to all of our social media platforms. They are right there at the bottom of the screen. Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Pics, and search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube.
And what if somebody has an opinion? Maybe it differs from ours. What if they're like, you guys are idiots
that
for
would
not
be a lot of people.
Yeah, they probably heard a lot of our discussion.
And if you want to chew us out and tell us how dumb we are, why just email us, right?
What? Is that at the bottom of our screen?
Is it down here?
It's right there.
Whoa. RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
I like that dramatic pause.
And then, the long hair. And
it does.
You're welcome.
You started to let your hair down. It looks good. Look at that.
I don't know what
I
that
can't wait
is.
till we get to Lemuria.
Lemuria.
Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
I'm for pork.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.